My name is Francine Fornor. As he introduced, I'm the Director of the Office of Public Safety Accountability. It's within the City of Sacramento. The office was established in 1999. There was a Blue Ribbon Committee that was put together by the Mayor and Council. The reason why they put this committee together was because there were some incidents that took place within the City of Sacramento that was concerning to the public. There were a few car accidents where the police officers were chasing individuals that were suspects. Those suspects either crashed and killed themselves or they crashed and killed some innocent people. There probably were about 3 or 4 that were a string that were happening fairly close to each other. It was a huge concern. There was a lot of panic in the community. And they started scrutinizing the police and saying, who are you chasing? Why are you chasing them? And why are these innocent people dying? So the Blue Ribbon Committee was put together. Some of the things they were tasked with was to look at the pursuit policy within the City of Sacramento and also to look at how the city investigates their complaints of misconduct against their officers. So the committee's recommendation was that they changed a few things about pursuits. They also asked that the city put together an external office that would investigate the investigators. So my job basically is, I'm sure some of you have heard of internal affairs. So if you complain against a police officer, internal affairs is going to get that complaint. They're going to look and see what did the officer do wrong. And mostly what they're looking at is whether it's outside of policy. They only look at policy and procedure violations. If it's something that's criminal, that's going to be handled by a criminal investigator. So if there is a policy or procedure violation, internal affairs, all they do is gather the facts. They cannot be the judge and the jury. So basically they're going to put everything together. They're going to send that case off to the officer's supervisor. The supervisor is going to look at it. And when I say supervisor, I don't mean the sergeant. Somewhere a lot higher up, like a captain, the captain over that officer. He's going to look at it. He's going to write down what he thinks it is or he or she thinks it is. Was there a violation of policy and what is the recommendation for discipline? That case will then be taken to the deputy chief. The deputy chief sits down. They'll probably have 3 or 4 or 5 cases that they've put together. And this captain and his lieutenant will pitch this case, if you will, to the deputy chief. And he'll say, Chief, I think it's this, or I don't think it's that. And then the deputy chief will believe what these guys tell him, the girls tell him, and say, all right, fine, we'll sign it off and we'll do this. Once they're done, if it's a case that my office is auditing, I'm going to get that whole case. And when I look at it, I'm looking at it for 2 things. Did internal affairs do a good job with the investigation? Did they ask all the pertinent questions? Did they talk to all the appropriate people? Were they in any way trying to sway the investigation? Were they asking questions in a way that also gave the answers to the officers? Usually we don't have that problem. I don't run into that problem too often. I do get it sometimes with newer investigators when they're new to internal affairs. They're trying to help the officer out in the interview. They're trying to make them comfortable instead of just being non-biased and saying, did you do this? Why did you do this? Sometimes they'll say, so when you did this, was it your intent to do X, Y, Z? You can't do that. You can't offer the answer in the question. So I'll look for that. The second thing I look at is based on the investigation that was done by internal affairs, do I agree or disagree with the findings of the deputy chief? About last year, I do an annual report every year. I'm a little slow doing it because I hate with a capital H and the rest of the letters capital. I hate writing papers. I hate looking up stuff. I am actually an army of one, so everything I do on my own. I have an assistant. She just types my letters. That's all, because I can't type, and I hate typing and writing. But so I put it off to the very last minute. So this is like April already. I'm just now finishing my annual report, and it's a calendar year report, but I get away with it, so I keep doing it. Last year, I think I turned it in September or something, which is horrible. So I'm doing good this year. This year, I'm actually proud of myself being done by April. But so what was I talking about? Yeah, really, seriously. Oh, writing report. Which part of it? Okay, before that. Second. Oh, okay. If I disagree, last year, that's where I was. Thank you. Okay, I disagreed with probably about 30% of the cases I audited, and of those disagreements, I usually get 100% compliance for them to change it in the favor that I want it to be. So I think that's pretty good. The police department, especially with the deputy chief, they're very busy. He's not going to sit and read every case. He really depends on the lieutenant and the captains to come and be honest with them with the case they're presenting. And I wouldn't say that they're not being honest or that they're trying to be sneaky. Sometimes they're just biased. They know the people or the officer that works beneath them, Sometimes they'll give favoritism. Oh, he's a good cop. Oh, she works hard. Oh, this. Oh, it was an honest mistake. The reason why I'm here is to prevent this from happening again in the future. So discipline is technically supposed to be there to change behavior. It's not to penalize people. It's not to get you in trouble, if you will. It's to change. So if somebody does something wrong and they're not disciplined for it, there's a likeliness they're probably going to do it again. So that's really why I push some of these cases to be changed and to be appropriately marked the way they should be. So if our office is going to audit a case, there are 5 cases that we always audit no matter what. The first one is excessive force. So if there's an allegation that an officer used excessive force, we're automatically going to audit that case. Improper tactics. The reason why we started auditing improper tactics is because probably about 3 years ago, the police department got a little sneaky, and an officer would get accused of taking down somebody with a hair pull takedown. And they would write up the case and say, well, you used an inappropriate tactic. Technically, you should have did a strong arm crossbar, because I always audit excessive force. So if they change the word to improper tactics, I might not pick it up and audit that case. So I'm like, okay, I see your tricks. I got one for you. So now I do all improper tactics. Discrimination, automatically I audit that. Discourtesy, automatically I audit those. And if the person contacted our office or it's a referral from the mayor and council's office, then I'll automatically investigate those. I guess there's a 6th category. If there are any trending issues. The way that a complaint system works with internal affairs is that there are different layers and there are different tiers. Sometimes people can complain right there on the street to the supervisor. The supervisor can handle it and say, okay, what do you want me to do? You want me to talk to the officer about his attitude or his behavior? The person will say, yeah, I'm fine with that. It's done. It never makes it to internal affairs. It's not documented. It's not taken down anywhere. It's not recorded. That's handled on the street. Sometimes the supervisor may hear of a complaint, and if he thinks it's egregious enough, then he knows, even if that person says just handle it, on your own, he has to raise it to the next level. Because if it comes out eventually, he can be held responsible for being neglectful of not bringing that to the proper, authority and maybe on that there is misconduct taking place. Sometimes internal affairs can get a complaint, and the person will say, you know what, I'm okay with the supervisor just talking to this officer, and then I'm done with it. Sometimes those cases we don't see. They don't rise to the level of where they would be turned into an actual complaint. But usually if it is a formal complaint, it's going to go down on a piece of paper. Once that piece of paper is recorded, they shoot us a copy via email. I look at the allegations, I look at the officers' names to see if it's somebody that's been coming through. If there's a trending issue regarding that officer name is popping up a lot, or if it's a type of allegation that has been showing up several times within a few months, then I'll go ahead and start requesting to audit those cases when the case is final and put together. The reason why I look at trending is because sometimes there's some gap or there's something going on between the expectations of the department and what the officers have as an understanding of what they should be doing. An example of that is last year we had some issues where people were getting strip searched out in the field. Officers would think people were in possession of drugs or whatever it was, and they were doing strip searches. Now, while it's not illegal and it's not against policy to do strip searches, what I found out is that a lot of the officers were performing these strip searches, but they had no idea how to do it or what they were doing. There are certain things and guidelines in the policy where, like, if you want to do a strip search, that's fine. You have to call your supervisor first. Some of the officers were advising the supervisor after the fact. It's a violation of policy. One girl was strip searching another lady, and this particular woman she was pregnant. She happened to be a fairly large lady. She was having a hard time, pulling stuff up in a certain direction. So the officer went and was like helping her lift stuff up. You can't touch people. You don't touch people. You don't lift things. You don't manipulate and move stuff around. So basically, I was like, wow, okay. The officers, one, need to be retrained on the policy. They also need to be told, given a video. So we asked the sheriff's department to help us put a video together so that the officers actually see this is how you perform a strip search. You don't touch people. There's just a lot of stuff you don't do. So that's like an example. You guys have any questions so far? Anything? Nothing? You gonna make me talk like the whole 45 minutes?
want us to save them for the end, or is it?
You could just pop, I don't care. You go pop off, just raise your hand, throw something at me, whatever you want to do. You have a question? I'm going to put you on the spot. You got to say something now.
Define discourteousness as far as police officers have been enforced.
That's a good question. You should have said that to the end.
I can do this, I think of a couple times.
You want me to define discourteousness, a discourtesy complaint. Now, that's good. I'm going to tell you why that's good. Because I have stories. I always tell stories. But there was a motor officer, a guy who does traffic who writes tickets. All they do is write tickets. They do nothing else. So you have to imagine with a motor officer, they get a lot of people complaining, upset. I mean, that's not a fun interaction. There's no way you're going to have somebody at the end of an encounter with a motor officer saying, you know what, officer, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You're the best. So they have bad attitudes in general. I'm just putting that out there. They do. We don't have any motor officers anymore right now. So, but this particular officer was getting a lot of complaints. And so we're watching them. We're tracking them. And a lot of them were discourtesy. And then finally, he got to the point where he stopped talking. And he just wouldn't respond. So this woman was asking him questions about why she was getting stopped, why he was writing her a ticket, and he said nothing. He wouldn't answer her questions. He wouldn't say yes. He wouldn't say no. It was like, ma'am, here's your ticket. I need you to sign at the bottom. She would ask a question. Ma'am, here's your ticket. I need you to sign at the bottom. It's like, dude, that's so rude. But is it? It's not a violation of the policy. He never raised his voice. He never used any derogatory language. He didn't curse at her. But to me, it's kind of like the tone of the encounter. So that's what I look at. A lot of times people cannot say things that are rude, but they can also be very condescending. So it gets particularly hard in my job because I have to look at whether or not you violate a policy and procedure, right? So in a case like that, I said, you know what? You're smart, okay, but I'm watching you. So I will have his supervisor talk to him directly. Because all I can do is really just sign this paper and say, okay, I agree or disagree, you did or did not violate policy. But I will have their supervisors call them in. I do that quite often. And when I say supervisor, not his sergeant, it usually has to be a captain. Because if you get called into the captain's office, that's kind of a big deal. That's like, you know, different than going to the counselor's office. You're going to see the principal. So in a case like that, it kind of depends. A lot of times when you get discourtesy, I'm trying to think of the one of the ones I had them overturned. I see you back there. I'll get you in just a second. There was an officer who was driving down the street, and he tried to put on his blinker to get over. But the lady, I'm going to say, she sped up a little bit because she was trying to get over. Now, she wasn't speeding, so she sped up. The officer eventually got over, but then she wanted to get back over. He wouldn't let her in. Like, really? Kindergarten? So he ended up pulling her over, writing her a ticket for something else, for driving too close to the car in front of her or something. And I'm like, wait a minute. You were ticked off at her because she wouldn't let you in. And then it was time for her to get over and make a turn. You wouldn't let her in. So basically, you wrote her a ticket just because she did something you did to her. So I can't overturn tickets, but I did have them sustained for discourtesy on that, even though she was the complaint she made was about racial profiling. So sometimes people will allege that it's something, but if we see something else in the complaint, we'll tell them to add that allegation to the actual complaint. So I know it sounds ticky-tack, but contempt of cop just drives me crazy. It's like you're getting paid to be there. People are going to give you a bad attitude because sometimes you're dealing with them. They're not in a good environment. They're not in a good space. But you don't know what else is going on in their life at that time. You show up to work every day. You leave it. You check it at your locker. Whatever emotional and personal problems you have, you leave them there because we're paying you to be here and help people. So contempt of cop, I do not. It doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. I'm sorry. Yeah, what else? Is it talking about something else? No.